Now, with everything nice and open, first thing I want to address is something I've never seen in a kit before in my life. And I have about 150 of them boys sitting over on these shelves over here. We have in this large book style manual the first non-P Bandai addendum. Excuse me, that's not centered. An addendum to the manual after it was printed. This isn't, you know, one of those P Bandai inserts that says, oh, instead of build this part, build that part, or instead of those stickers, put these stickers. This notes that it is completely left out a polycap in one of the parts. A polycap which it's non-critical, but it is where you plug in the action base into the pterodactyl form. So, that interesting tidbit aside, perhaps in a second run they'll have that manual fixed. I appreciate having the first run error. We have two A runners, both in this nice red. It's assorted parts, nobody, not one form in particular. Two of these nice B runners. This is a very vibrant kind of purplish blue, but looks very nice. The C runners, we have a clear blue for some effect parts, and then injected gold for some of our accent and our weapon. The big sword, I can't remember what that sword's called. I'm only on episode 3 as of this recording. We have claw parts in a nice yellow. I need to get myself like centered on camera. I'm going this way and the camera's over here. This is why we're Plebpla and not some high tier review. All natural, non-scripted. You have black E-runner here. Vents, waist parts looks like. And very interestingly, we have this large F-runner in white, but then we have an F2 for 2 pieces in black. And they don't mirror anything. I imagine they probably fit in here, but why? I wish I knew more about the planning process that goes into Gunpla. I'm just the kind of person that really likes to know more about how this kind of stuff works. Like, I want to see the plastic get filled into the metal molds. Molds is a word. The G runner, but a lot of wing parts here. An H1 and H2 in this nice grayish kind of lavender color going on. The I runner, which is good old ABS plastic for a lot of joints and internal working parts. And some effect parts in my favorite Lego green. And then 2 sheets of polycaps. You get the smaller one that we're used to seeing with Bear Guys, and a larger one, as you do. I remember seeing a large set of polycaps. I think last time I saw big ones like that, I think was on my 100 scale Sumo or the 100 scale Double X. That's what it was. And then one simple little sheet of stickers. And I know some people like to complain about stickers, but at least this one right here, number 10, if you would stop reflecting the camera itself, please. Well, that's pretty neat right there. So, we'll see you in about a week when I've got all this built, because I have a full-time job and I build at my leisure. But for you, it'll just be 1 second. And here we are, 10,000 years later, many millennia later, we bring you dinosaurs. We have here the Land Stego, the Mahatera, and the Thunder Brachio. Individually, these 3 boys do not have very much articulation. You get a little bit in this gun here, the tail doesn't move, the fins don't move, the head doesn't even twist. You get a little bit of action at the feet here. Oh no, that's the waist. The waist should not bend or be loose. That's not a regular issue. That was a mistake I made. Thunder Brachio here. Again, incredibly minimal, well, articulation. You get a little bit in the feet, but again, the feet just don't move. 1 second here. I'm gonna toy with the setting. There we go. I've toy with the setting here. The neck doesn't move. These move in the front, but there's a particular reason for those. That's where our feet go. And the sword just so happens to be able to fit into the mouth. Looking up close here, you will see a couple of lines here and there. Those will line up right there in his mouth. Just line those up and it'll rest in there nice and comfy. If anything, the Terra has the most articulation going here. It's the arms. The legs here move about quite a bit. You get the shoulder pads to also move just a little. The feet move, the talons move. You get a lot of motion here in the wings. They're kind of segmented a bit. You can feel a little pull and pressure, that little pop there. The turrets, these extra claws don't move. The head itself gets a lot of giggity there. Yeah. And the wings, of course, turn on their own. Individually, they don't do a whole lot. It's very much in the same vein as Tryon 3 in that in its individual parts, it really does a whole lot of nothing. They stand there and they look cool, and it's very neat that it can accomplish that. So with him back in his place, what we're going to do is we're going to put this in one of its two forms, which is the initial form that it asks you to build in the manual, the Saurer Jet. Time lapse. Activate. And quite simply, there it is. It's very basic. It does nothing but pose. It exists. It is the flying mode in which it rises from the school before a little bit more shifting and turning into the great Go-Saurer. Go-Saurer. So, as I disassemble it, what I'm going to show you here, briefly, is a very nifty extra piece that this kit comes with, and it's this blue base. Those of you that might have the high-grade double Zeta, or even the Tryon 3 themselves, they have this extra piece that serves as sort of a base, as well as a means of everything sort of having a place to go when not in use. The hands, the extra thrusters, all that kind of stuff has a nice extra place to go when not being busied with being in use. Now, something that this kit does rather neatly is the chest piece here folds and rotates like many classic Power Ranger toys. You do have to carefully remove this gray part. It's not on a hinge, unfortunately. Now, this is a softer plastic here, but I would still recommend being careful with it. You don't want to stress it, you don't want to break it, even though it requires a bit of force. And, oh dear, well, that's not normal. The head does not normally pop off like that. That, again, is just one-off Zappa having very odd luck. You'll pop that chest piece back up front, and you'll pop this back It lines right up with that neck plate normally when I am not being a failure. Glorious. The legs here do extend out, but are typically blocked by these jet nozzles here. You'll pop them out, press them back in to lock them in place. Bam, and you get these shoulders are very simple to work with at this point. Simply rotate them upward. Try not to get that hand caught in there. Rotate your arms. And we'll talk about these fists in a minute. And finally, your extra crest here. Again, this extra crest will store with the regular crest down here inside this blue tray. Rotate that piece correctly. We'll set that aside. Now, to go into a little bit of detail, this is, you know, good old injected gold piece, but that's also, please focus, this is a blue effect part in here, not a sticker, not a decal or anything, and it is the hardest piece I've ever had to clean up in order to get functional. Pop that right in place. Now, these two red bricks here, these are alternate side skirts, because what you have are the reasonable, more detailed and transformation ready stego legs, which we're gonna go ahead and pop back onto our build base, even though this is not Coated 2G, and you will pop them on the side skirt. And it's just simply what the manual calls a anime version, and that is literally the only difference in the anime version. The hands I also want to talk on, as these are very non-conventional hands, and I greatly appreciate it. What they are three pieces, and they operate how I think certain master grades operate. The thumb joint comes out here, followed by the fingers, and that is where you start when you wish to equip your sword and board. Because otherwise they don't just slip in there. They are held in there securely, tightly, wonderfully. I, with my bad luck with hands, will fear that one day I may break it. So that's going to be set there. Back over here is the other extra piece here. This piece goes with the shield in this glorious, beautiful Lego green. I keep making mention of that, and I feel maybe while I work on this hand I'll explain that the term Lego green is something I get from a Lego set in the 90s. It was one of the space sets. I don't particularly remember the name. Feel free to do your research or chime in the comments below. This grip lines up very particularly. I think that's it, yeah. So it certain space sets, they had green clear parts that were used for the minifigs visors, as well as like the hinge dome covers on some of the smaller ships. Oh dear, I need to rotate that one more space. Yes, that's how I want it. Yes, yes, just like that. Wonderful. And then that's going to plug right in there. Hold firm, secure. And then finally, the backpack will go on. And you shift these wings down so they don't droop on their own. do a couple little bends on the wings here. And we're going to... I think I'm about to assemble that upside down. I feel... yeah, that's up too high. 1 second. It's very hard to remember, without the instructions of course, which way these wings go. And now I feel like even that's not right. I guess I have to finally refer to the manual. Nope, I'm doing it right, I think. Yeah, that's what I want. I'm gonna shift those down. Okay. Alright, this is what the manual wants. And that is correct. Okay, there we go. Neckets, Gatai, Go-Saurer. I haven't plugged the hands in yet. I'm going to show you a few things first. Again, extra parts have a home right here. Everything on this kit has a space. The feet, when they're not in use on the Brachiosaur, go right up here. I don't know if anything plugs in right here. Not that I've had to use it yet. These holes in the top are for the hands when they're not in use. It's a wonderful piece of not articulation, but it's a wonderful accessory for keeping track of everything and not losing it. This will go in the toolbox or some such. So here we go. Articulation, which is the most important feature of the day. The chest pieces still clamp around in circles, but that's not important. The head gets that full poltergeist exorcism twist. The biceps have a full twist. Or no, they don't. Why do these feel loose right now? This is very strange. They feel loose as I'm messing with them, but I feel maybe the shoulders aren't in quite the right position. Because they're sturdy, I just am failing. We're going to have to fold these wings back because... and then fold... in order to get a full rotation while it's available, the wings do block it when they're set in. So you'll want to move your arm around, bring the wings back in place as you need to. I was saying full bicep rotation, but it stops right here at this joint, and it kind of stops it. But you still get, you know, plenty more than what you would need. At your elbow, you get, you know, more than 90 degrees, so that's glorious. At the waist, it doesn't seem like it turns. And I want to make sure, yeah, the waist has no articulation at all. The waist does not turn at all. The legs, well, let me talk about these front skirts. While they don't move up very much, they come together. They are the kind that are easily separated. Side skirts only move up so much, but it gives just enough to get your foot out there for a good kick or a good hose down with either the boot, or if I can get this piece back out, this blue piece is blocking, still get some use of these water hoses here. Just mind that when you pull those out that you are still able to keep your leg up. Yes. You do get some thigh rotation in there. It is just a regular ball and socket in there. It twists. You've got a regular, what's the term I'm looking for? It's not a polycap, but your regular action-based plug-in. The manual does make deliberate mention of action-based number 4, action-based 2, and 1 work just fine. There's nothing wrong with them. It's that regular round, I guess, 3mm connector. The step that was missing, for what it's worth, back here, the instructions forget to tell you to put that polycap in place, and that's the polycap that you would use for posing the Mock Terra by itself. Putting the hands in over here. Pop that in. The hands, a regular ball and joint, full range of motion. You get some good movement there as well. They pop back in a little further just for security. And while I am complaining a bit about how the shoulders felt a little weak, they certainly are not. They hold that pose. Not to mention, once I plug this shield in, that's bad connection. That's me. That's why, because I was twisting it and all that good stuff. So, pop that back in place. And as it should, it's holding up the shield just fine. It's a very stable and sturdy kit for being a 1/300 scale super robot, and it's falling at the shoulder. I feel like I've got something not in the right place here. But once again, that's me. That's nothing against the kit whatsoever. It's a wonderful piece of nostalgia. I'm not going to do an anime review, but the anime is also pretty good. It's more than just 3 kids get giant robot. It's the whole class gets giant robot. Every student that you see here, including the teacher, not only do they have commentary throughout the manual, as well as their names, they fulfill some manner of role. Either extra gun, extra radar, switching in pilots in case one of the main characters for some reason is AWOL. Every kid has a part to play when the entire machine goes out. It takes the entire classroom and a chunk of the school with it, and the entire class goes out to go save the world. And what you need to go do is go out and buy you one of these, because ZEON says fund it. I'm always a fan of not so much at Bandai, but anybody going back and bringing an older mech series into the present, and that's what we have here. Maybe one day we'll get Writing or Gravion or any other super robot combiner in a modern, well-articulated, well-planned model kit. Kotobukiya, freaking Bandai, Flame Toys, I don't care who. Y'all got a list? Start running the gambit. Get me some Brygar in here. I want it. But as always, SIEG, ZEON.